Hello and welcome to our channel, where we deliver clear, hard-hitting analysis of the world's most defining conflicts and power plays. Today, on this final day of 2025, we stand at a chilling historical crossroads. Russia's war in Ukraine is about to surpass in duration the Soviet Union's brutal fight against Nazi Germany on the Eastern Front. The very conflict Vladimir Putin reveres as the sacred Great Patriotic War. By mid-January 2026, Putin's special military operation, launched in February 2022, will have lasted longer than the 1,418 days from Hitler's invasion in June 1941 to Berlin's fall in May 1945. For a leader who has built his ideology around Soviet victory, World War II analogies, and even the partial rehabilitation of Stalin, this is a grim milestone indeed. Yet as the year ends, Putin projects unshakable confidence, insisting victory is inevitable. Time is on his side, and Russia will achieve all its goals, by military or other means. Join us for this end-of-year special as we dissect Putin's strategy of swagger amid attrition, the fracturing Western support, the high-stakes diplomatic poker game with Donald Trump, and whether the Kremlin's bravado masks deeper vulnerabilities. The numbers tell a sobering story. Nearly 4 years in, Russia occupies roughly 20% of Ukraine, mostly land seized in 2014 and 2022, but a decisive breakthrough remains elusive. Estimates place Russian casualties, killed and wounded, above 1 million. A staggering toll for a war Putin promised would be swift. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky remains firmly in power, defying Moscow's initial aim of regime change. The front line creeps forward at enormous cost. Villages captured, then lost, then recaptured in a grinding war of attrition reminiscent of World War I more than the lightning victories Putin's propaganda once evoked. Yet Putin's public messaging radiates certainty. In a December interview with India today ahead of the summit with Narendra Modi, he declared Russia would liberate Donbass and Novorossiya in any case, by military or other means, reiterating maximalist territorial demands that include regions Russian forces have never fully controlled. At his marathon year-end press conference, he claimed Russian troops were advancing across the whole front line while simultaneously expressing readiness to finish the conflict by peaceful means. Days later, in his traditional New Year's Eve address, he urged Russians to support our heroes and proclaim faith in our victory. The contradiction is deliberate. Keep advancing militarily while dangling peace, but only on Russia's uncompromising terms. This dual-track approach is classic Putin. Project strength to domestic audiences, extract maximum concessions internationally, and bet on Western fatigue. And in 2025, that bet has paid dividends. The once solid transatlantic unity behind Ukraine showed serious cracks after Donald Trump's return to the White House. In February, Vice President J.D. Vance stunned European leaders at Munich with a blistering speech criticizing allies' defense, spending, and commitment. Soon after, Trump and Vance publicly humiliated Zelensky in the Oval Office. By summer, the Anchorage summit between Trump and Putin, while producing no breakthrough, gave Moscow valuable time and legitimacy. The relationship between Trump and Zelensky was turbulent early in the year, but appeared to stabilize as diplomatic channels reopened. Trump, eager for foreign policy win, dispatched unconventional envoys, his longtime associate Steve Witkoff and son-in-law Jared Kushner. Their December visit to the Kremlin triggered a flurry of shuttle diplomacy. European leaders, Britain's Keir Starmer, France's Emmanuel Macron, Germany's Friedrich Merz, hosted Zelensky in London. Mid-December, Trump declared, "We're closer now than we have ever been to peace." But as the year closed, Putin seemed determined to play a deal-breaker. Zelensky visited Mar-a-Lago last weekend to discuss a revised framework. Putin bookended that meeting with direct calls to Trump. Then, on December 30th, the Kremlin claimed Ukraine launched drones at Putin's Valdai residence in Novgorod, an allegation Zelensky called complete fabrication. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov warned Moscow would revise its negotiating position. Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov briefed state media on the alleged attack, framing it as justification for hardening demands. Analysts see the drone story as classic disinformation, a dramatic pound on the table to derail momentum toward a U.S.-Ukrainian framework Moscow finds unacceptable. Russian officials have repeatedly restated red lines: no withdrawal from claimed territories, no NATO presence in post-war Ukraine, and recognition of annexations. Deputy Prime Minister Sergei Ryakov told ABC News those conditions remain non-negotiable. Putin's confidence rests on several pillars. Domestically, he faces no meaningful opposition. Criticism of the military can mean prison. The economy, though slowing, continues thanks to war spending and high oil prices. Ukrainian strikes on refineries hurt, but haven't collapsed revenues. Public mood is hard to gauge, dissent is suppressed, but visible protests remain rare. Graveyards fill across provinces, yet no parliament or free media can challenge the war. Internationally, Putin watches Western resolve waver. European ammunition shortages persist. Political shifts, from Slovakia to Hungary to rising far-right voices, complicate aid. Trump's impatience for a deal gives Moscow leverage. By advancing slowly on the battlefield while talking peace, Putin hopes to force concessions without major compromise. Yet cracks exist. Military bloggers, once loyal, increasingly criticize command incompetence. Recruitment struggles despite high bonuses. Sanctions bite deeper over time. And battlefield reality sometimes embarrasses propaganda. In November, Putin claimed control of Kupiansk. Weeks later, Zelensky posted video from the town. As 2025 ends, the war approaches its Eastern Front milestone with no end in sight. Putin's strategy, attrit Ukraine, outlast Western support, dictate terms, has kept Russia in the fight far longer than many predicted in 2022. But at what cost? A generation scarred, economy distorted, international isolation deepened. Whether his confidence is justified or bluff will define 2026. Thank you for joining this end-of-year deep dive. Is Putin's victory inevitable, or is time actually running out? Drop your thoughts below. Like if you want more Russia-Ukraine coverage, subscribe for daily updates, and share to keep the conversation going. Here's to hoping 2026 brings peace. See you next year.